My name is Alex Rivera. I'm 29 years old and I live alone in a small two-bedroom apartment on the third floor of an old building in downtown Seattle. I work night shifts at a 24-hour call center, so I'm usually asleep during the day. For the past 6 months, things had started feeling off. At first, it was small stuff. My keys would be on the kitchen counter when I knew I left them by the door. A coffee mug I washed and put away would be in the sink the next morning. The throw blanket on my couch was folded differently. I told myself I was just tired, forgetting things because of the weird sleep schedule. But the feeling that someone had been inside my apartment kept growing. I live in a secure building with a key fob entrance and cameras in the lobby, but nothing on the individual floors. My neighbor across the hall, an older guy named Mr. Harlan, said he sometimes heard footsteps in the hallway late at night when I was at work. I started getting paranoid. I even bought a cheap door wedge and jammed it under the door every time I left. Then one night in early October 2025, I came home from my shift at 7:30 a.m. and found my bedroom window slightly open. I never open that window. It's painted shut and faces the fire escape. My heart started racing. That was the moment I decided to do something. I went online and ordered a small wireless security camera. It was the size of a smoke detector, motion activated, with night vision and cloud storage. I mounted it high in the corner of my living room, aimed so it could see the front door, the kitchen, and part of the hallway leading to my bedroom. I told no one, not my friends, not my family, not even my coworker who I sometimes vent to. I just wanted proof that I wasn't losing my mind. The first few days showed nothing unusual. Me coming home tired, eating cereal at 8 a.m., crashing on the couch. The camera only recorded when it detected motion, so the footage was manageable. I checked it every morning after my shift. On the fifth night, October 17, I was at work when the camera triggered at 2:14 a.m. I got the notification on my phone, but couldn't check it until I got home. When I finally sat down with my coffee and opened the app, my stomach dropped. The footage was in night vision, green and grainy. At 2:14 a.m., the front door slowly opened. A figure stepped inside. He was wearing a dark hoodie, gloves, and a black baseball cap pulled low. He closed the door quietly behind him and stood still for almost 30 seconds, listening. Then he moved like he knew the layout perfectly. He went straight to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and took out the half-empty bottle of orange juice I had bought the day before. He drank straight from the bottle, then put it back. Next, he walked to the couch, picked up the remote, and flipped through channels for a minute before turning the TV off again. He seemed completely relaxed, like he lived there. Then he did something that made my skin crawl. He walked down the hallway and stopped at my bedroom door. He pushed it open gently and stood there watching me sleep for a full 2 minutes. The camera angle caught the side of his face for just a second when he turned. It was my neighbor, Mr. Harlan from across the hall, the quiet 68-year-old retired accountant who always said hello and complained about the loud kids on the first floor. I froze. I watched the clip 3 times. He didn't touch me. He just stood there staring. Then he went back to the living room, sat in my armchair for 10 minutes, scrolling through his phone with the screen brightness turned way down. At 2:38 a.m., he stood up, straightened the throw blanket exactly the way I usually left it, and quietly left, locking the door behind him with what looked like a copied key. I didn't sleep that day. I called in sick to work and spent hours reviewing every single clip from the previous weeks. There were 7 more entries I had missed because the motion had been so brief. He had been coming in almost every night I was at work. Sometimes he just sat on my couch and watched TV. Once, he took a shower in my bathroom and used my towel. Another time, he cooked 2 eggs on my stove, ate them, and washed the plate. He even rearranged the magnets on my fridge into a smiley face. The worst one was from October 12. He went into my bedroom while I was sleeping, sat on the edge of my bed for nearly 15 minutes, and gently brushed a strand of hair off my forehead. I had woken up the next morning feeling strangely tired and had a small bruise on my arm I couldn't explain. Now I realized he must have taken blood or something while I was out cold. I felt sick. This man had been living a secret life inside my apartment for weeks, maybe months. I had no idea how he got a key. Later, I learned he had befriended the building superintendent and offered to help with minor repairs, giving him access to the master key set for just a few minutes. I didn't confront him. Instead, I installed a second camera inside my bedroom closet, pointed at the bed. I also bought a heavy baseball bat and kept it next to my bed. I changed the locks that same afternoon, telling the landlord there had been a break-in scare. For 3 nights, nothing happened. Then, on October 22nd at 2:07 a.m., the living room camera triggered again. Mr. Harlan tried the new key, but it didn't work. He stood outside my door for almost 4 minutes, trying to pick the lock with a small tool. When that failed, he left. The next morning, I went to the police with all the footage. They were shocked. Detective Lopez said this was one of the most disturbing cases he had seen in years. They arrested Mr. Harlan that evening when he came back from the grocery store. During the search of his apartment, they found a notebook with detailed entries about my schedule, what I ate, what shows I watched, even the brand of deodorant I used. He had printed screenshots from the building's lobby camera showing exactly when I left for work. In his bedroom closet, they found a box containing a spare key to my apartment, several of my missing socks, a lock of my hair out of a small plastic bag, and printed photos of me sleeping that he had taken with his phone. Mr. Harlan, whose real name was Harold Lansing, was 68 years old and had no prior criminal record in Washington. But when detectives dug deeper, they discovered he had moved to Seattle from Arizona 3 years earlier after a similar complaint from a young woman in Phoenix. That case had never gone to trial because the victim dropped the charges after receiving anonymous threats. In my building, Harold had been the perfect neighbor for 2 years, quiet, helpful, always offering to walk dogs or water plants when people were away. No one suspected anything. At the station, he confessed almost immediately. He told the detective he just wanted to feel close to someone and that I reminded him of his daughter who had stopped talking to him years ago. He said he never meant to hurt me, he only wanted to be part of my life. The detective later told me Harold had been watching me for almost 5 months before he got bold enough to enter my apartment. I moved out 2 weeks later. The building manager offered to break my lease early. Now I live in a new apartment on the other side of the city with 3 new cameras and a dog for company. I still check the footage every single morning. Sometimes at night, I still wake up suddenly, heart pounding, convinced I heard the front door open. The therapist says it's PTSD and it will fade with time. But I know one thing for sure, I will never again feel completely safe in any home. The camera I installed to catch a thief ended up revealing something far more terrifying, a man who had turned my private space into his own secret world. He wasn't stealing my things, he was stealing pieces of my life, one quiet night at a time. And the scariest part? If I hadn't installed that camera, I might never have known he was there at all.